setting up the different reverbs and the intention behind using each one. You are already aware that I have 3 auxiliary channels, each holding a reverberation plugin. And I've labeled them sax reverb, voice reverb, piano reverb. So the intention is to have a different setting for each of these reverbs. In terms of the mix intention, I want the voice to seem to be the closest to the listener, the saxophone a little further back, and the piano a little more distant compared to the voice and the saxophone. So to establish that, I need to, of course, select my type of reverberation. So if I hold the shift key down and click, I can have all of these different windows open at the same time. Hold the shift key down and click. So this is the reverb for the sax, this is the reverberation processor for the voice, and this is for the piano. For the voice and saxophone, I will select the same type, being a plate. For the piano, I will select a concert hall and try medium size. Now a plate, if I open up this plugin, gives a fantastic illustration of what a plate is. So it's a large metal plate where signal is sent into it and it resonates within an acoustic space. And that reverberant energy caused from the plate's vibration is the output of this plate processor. So that was in the days of physical plate reverbs, that's how they worked. So I'm not using this, just using this as an illustration, because when you select a plate you don't have that illustration. Now for a hall, that is an impulse response taken from an acoustic hall. Impulse response meaning a very loud spectral bang has been let off in a room, and the sound after the bang is the sound of that room. So that's been captured and put into this plugin. I'm trying to explain it in a simple way, but think of it as being modeled on an acoustic space. And I'll choose this reverb and this setting for the piano. If I go back to our Moodle week 3, there is a reverberation illustration that I've spoken to you about before, which illustrates a speaker being the source. The red line is the direct output from the source to the listener. Direct sound, early reflections are the first order, first surface for the original sound source to bounce off and then hit the listener. Second order, second surface, bang bang to the listener. Third order, bang 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 to the listener. And this is time. So it takes time for the sound source to bounce off the surface and to hit the listener. That's what the early reflections illustrate. The blue area are complex reflections that form eventually many complex reflections in form the reverberant energy of the space. And again, the reverberation time is how long does it take for the reverberant energy of an acoustic space to be reduced by an amount of 60 decibels. That is the reverberation time. Again, how long it takes for the reverberant energy of an acoustic space to be reduced, for it to die away by an amount of 60 decibels. So given this information, how can this, or how should it inform us setting the parameters up in our reverberation processes? Well, if we want the voice, for example, which is using this preset for the voice to be close to the listener, then I should set the pre-delay for an amount below 30 milliseconds. The pre-delay will affect the perceived distance, and it manipulates the early reflections. And if I specify 0, then the early reflections are the closest to the listener. So remember, this is time. Early reflections, when I specify 0 in the pre-delay amount here, that's moving all of these early reflections as a group as close as possible to the direct sound. Within Pro Tools, the decay amount is the reverberation time. Going back to my illustration, the reverberation time. A longer reverberation time, the room will take longer for the sound to die away. Shorter reverberation time, the reverberation time will decay quickly. Generally, for songs that are faster in tempo, you will have a shorter reverb time, shorter decay. Songs that are like, for example, a ballad or an aria, slower in tempo, normally you will have a longer decay. It's not a rule, it just seems to be a preferred trend with most music. Again, you can break the rules, make up your own style, but that's just something to be aware of. If you were to record a very, very fast, articulate piano piece, for example, a prelude and fugue, well, certainly a prelude, and to define the definition of the performance clearly, the articulation of passages, you would be careful not to have a reverb time that would be too long, as that's going to disguise the detail of the performance. Of course, it does also determine how much reverberation you choose to use on that piano recording, but it is something to be mindful of. If it's a long reverberation time and the music is fast or has a lot of intricate fast detail, ornamentation and so forth, that detail may be lost.